Hey everybody, Andy here. Just wanted to quickly talk about a documentary I just saw. It's called Jodorowsky's Dune. Just basically about Alejandro Jodorowsky's failed attempt at adapting Frank Herbert's science fiction masterpiece Dune. If you don't know, Alejandro Jodorowsky is an independent filmmaker. He's most notably known for Holy Mountain, which is just crazy, super creative, most non-mainstream movie you'll ever see. It came out in the early 70s. And most of his movies were were similar, just out of this world. Strange, crazy movies that are like nothing you've ever seen before. More recently, he's a graphic novel, comic book writer. He writes comic books like Meta Barons, which is amazing, and they're just out of this world amazing, and I suggest that you should go try to find some of them and just read them real quick because they're just awesome. But anyways, back to the subject. This movie is basically his vision and his creativity and his whole life poured into trying to make this movie Dune, and how overambitious he was, and how he puts together some amazing minds and hired some amazing people that later went on to use some of their ideas and their creativity that would have been used in this movie and put them into other movies, such as Aliens and Terminator and Star Wars and Blade Runner. He hired Dan O'Bannon, which was for special effects, who later went on to work with Ridley Scott and Alien, and he hired Modius, which is, I can't remember what his real name is off the top of my head, but he's one of the artists that he hired for this movie. And it's amazing art that he had put together in these storyboards for Dune. He was the first one to hire H.I. Geiger, who, well, of course, went on to make the Xenomorphs and do the art for Ridley Scott's Alien movie. He hired some actors like Orson Welles and David Carradine. He even had Mick Jagger attached. And for music, he had Pink Floyd and Tangerine Dream, and it's just these huge names and all this creativity. They said his outline, or not his outline, that's the wrong word. His script for the movie was like a phone book, and there was no way he was going to be able to put this movie in anything that was less than 10, 12 hours long, which his idea and his creativity, he wanted to revolutionize the film industry. He wanted to use Dune to just change everything, and I think he would have if this movie ever got made. But as it went along, he had all this set up, he had all these people hired, he had the scripts, he had the storyboards, he had the crew, he had all the sites set up and everything. He was all ready to go. And just before you can start filming, they pulled the plug. And that was that. And for those of you who know that Dune actually did eventually get made into a movie by David Lynch, and you were like, oh, David Lynch, that's a great idea. It didn't work out. it was, if you've seen it, it's a pretty bad movie, but not to knock David Lynch, how are you gonna fit this amazing Dune book that is 500 pages long into a hour and 50-minute movie? It's just not gonna happen. It was unrealistic, and it just, to think if this movie was ever made, how amazing it could have been, or what a disaster it could have been, because Jodorowsky was just so ambitious. Just it was This was way before. This was in the 70s, late in the mid late 70s, before Star Wars was made, before Aliens, before Terminator, before Blade Runner, before any of those huge science fiction movies were made. This was the predecessor. This would have just blown everyone's mind. And this book, this movie is just shows you that, and it draws you in. It makes you just think, what if? And it just the art that they show in this movie, the pictures that these people have drawn, and Jodorowsky's ideas and vision, it's just amazing. And you should check it out. It's called Jodorowsky's Dune.